Hello, this is Dev Pirates Radio, where we challenge us all to push our limits and learn new things. Follow us as we create a game from start to finish, detailing how we accomplish each distinct development task. Contact us at contact@devpirates.com. I'm Pete, and with me as always is Matt.
Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Pete. How's it going?
Great. So, you already posted on the blog what you had done for this week, right?
Nope. I am editing it right now.
Okay.
Because I find it a little bit easier to do the posts while I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm discovering that as well.
I normally just did it like a text file, but I figure might as well just update the blog as I go.
Right. Okay. So did you want to go over yours first?
Sure. Mine's kind of long though, because it's apparently 3 distinct development tasks.
Okay. Well, let me do mine first then.
All right.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Sharing. Okay.
Well, why don't you explain what you were tasked with last week?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. My task was to use the sprite sheets that you had created and add them to the main character. And while that sounds simple, and in a lot of ways it is simple, there was some work and some little tweaks I needed to do. I actually went through a few revisions of my event graph before I finally settled on what I did. Okay. So I got those sprite sheets. I imported them and split them out and stuff. If you want to know about that, it'll be in the tutorial. But the stuff I really want to cover in this is here, where I create an update animation function and give it the axis values as inputs. If you look at the paper 2D version of this same thing, it's actually a lot less complicated, because when you're worried about only one axis to turn around on, it's really simple. And there are some issues with this one, and I'll go over those in a second, but here's how this works. First, you run and see if the up vector is set to a value of 1. If it is, then walk up and set the state to run up. And we'll see why I did that in a minute too. We can actually move those closer. Next, we see if it's not 1, we pass it on to this branch and so on down here. And what happens if it's -1, you go down. If it's +1 for the right vector, you walk right. Well, apparently I got my vectors backwards. So a vector of 1 for walk right is actually walk left. I'll fix that later. And then a -1 is walk right. And then if none of those are true, you set the idle. There are some problems.
Direction.
See, that's exactly why I set this the way I did. So this
I'm just trying to help the dialogue along. Okay.
Thank you. So this setting right here of the run state, what I did is I created an enum in, I think it was probably in Savron, huh? Yeah, Savron states. That's what this is. So the Savron states holds all of the states that she will have. And we'll add more as time goes on. She'll obviously need a dead one, and even jumping will probably be in the future. But for now, she just has 4 idles and 4 walking, which I called run for some reason. Now, when you set the states up here and then you stop walking, that's when all of these fail to return true, and you default to idle. Now the idle takes in the current state. So that's what we're passing in there. So we pass that state into a switch. If the last state was run up, down, left, or right, you set the same flip book for the idle. So if you were just walking left, you set the idle left. If you were just walking right, you set the idle right, and so on.
Yeah, makes sense. Plus, the last direction you were going when you were running should be the direction that you idle in.
Right, but here's the thing. With the way I've got this going here, if you are walking, say, right and up, it will always default to up because it's the first if branch.
That's fine.
So
I think that's the way Zelda Zelda: A Link to the Past does it anyway.
okay.
Notice he only has 4 different directions, but if you go diagonally, I think it's the direction he was already traveling in. So if you're going right and you press down, he'll be facing right, but going diagonal down.
Right. And if I wanted to do that, I could do it. It would just be a bit more complicated. I just didn't know whether it was worth it.
I don't think it's worth it for now. That's the kind of thing that we can fine tune later.
Right.
There's little tweaks that are for a later time.
And if we wanted to, we could set 4 more statements up here where if both of these vectors are 1 and 1 or 1 and -1 in any combination, then we can do diagonals. Yeah. So anyway, so here's what it looks like. Matt actually fixed the camera. Actually, he just got to commit it. And the adrenaline thing got fixed, so it never goes above 1. And here's me picking up money. So there you go.
All right. Also see my building.
Yeah. Sorry for the spoiler. All right. I think I'm done. You go ahead.
All right. So my building actually took place in. So I had to not only just. I can't just create a building. We also had to decide how we were going to make the building. So they're just going to be 3D objects, like completely whole objects. I had to make a building for every time I need a building, or are we going to do some other way? And so I had to design that. And what we decided on, or I guess what I decided on, was to use 3D tiles. So because this is a tile-like game, like a reminiscent of the old 16-bit pixel art style, I said use 3D tiles. Not just blocks, mind you, like Minecraft, but we would do shaped tiles as well. So there's the roof, which has a slanted tile, and then there's the overhang, which is a slightly more complicated one.
Right, I saw that. I was wondering how you did that exactly.
Let me just commit this real quick. Okay, committing, syncing, and gonna share my screen. Let's share my screen. All right, so everything's been closed out since I had to install some upper dates. House blend. And so I have my default Blender, obviously. I have my default blocks that I was using just to test out the look and feel, the general look and feel, kind of like a mock-up. And this is before I even updated the textures a little bit too. And so the next thing I did was I isolated the blocks that I wanted. And so I have the long block for the door, and then the shorter block for the default block for all sorts of various things. And then I created a roof block as the slanted angle. And if we look around it, I UV mapped it specifically for the textures that we're going to be using.
Is that what all those letters are?
Yep. So I have this for the top, B for bottom, R for right. I also did some of these letters are too big, so I did just arrows to point which way was up, so that when I'm looking at the texture, I can see that the UV is applied properly. And this looks like the A is upside down. But that's because this texture is going to be upside down. And I'll show you what I did for the textures in a little bit. So in here, for the overhang though, I just created, if we look at 7, I had a image added to show the texture behind 7, so I knew exactly where to place the polygons. And so
Okay.
I just did a UV projection from the top and to set the texture the way I wanted it.
Okay.
And then this wasn't all one. I didn't do all these blocks and I did a kind of an iteration. I did the basic block, then I did the door block, then I did the roof block, and then I did the overhang block. And then all of these can be imported or exported using the handy dandy exporter. So export, and I export to FBX. And you'll notice that I have all the blocks that I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just do selected objects, just to do the one object that I selected. You can do multiple objects, you can do the whole scene. Since I have several blocks in the same scene, I do them one at a time.
Okay.
And they will get the default texture that I put on them. So right now, the default texture, as you can see, is just this funky coded texture that I made to make sure everything was looking right.
Okay.
You'll see that on the right, that's the texture. And then inside of my sweet image editor, base tile text is the most complicated one. I have the block for the window, or the texture for the window, texture for the this is for the topmost part of the building, this is for the mid part of the building, and this is for the bottom part of the building. And so because I have them mapped to this default texture back here, I know which one's supposed to be on which face. So when I import them into here, you'll see my textures are all right here.
Okay.
So I imported the textures. There's a few things you have to do with the textures. 2D pixels unfiltered, and nearest.
That way they keep their nice pixelated look.
Right, because we're going for a pixelated look. If you don't want the pixelated look, then don't do that.
Right.
And the other thing, it by default creates a material. The material I didn't like because it was all shiny. So in order to get rid of the shiny, I just set the specular to 0. And that's an easy thing. You hold down 1 and click, and then that will add a float that you can just put a number to. Like I could have done it half shiny. I wanted.
Okay. So what about metallic? What does it default to?
Metallic, that could make it just completely metallic if we wanted to. So if I wanted to put a full on 1 and attach it to metallic, boop, you'll see in this preview, it makes it look metallic.
Super shiny.
For metallic texture, it should be either 1 or 0.
Nothing in between?
Yeah, because in between it doesn't look right. But it should also have a specular.
What is specular for?
Specular is for the shiny.
Okay, I thought metallic was for the shiny.
Metallic is for a certain kind of shiny.
Okay.
Specular is for, like when you're looking at a ball, you'll see like the light reflected on the ball surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're holding like a chrome ball.
Sure.
Like a pinball. You'd see like the light, and the light would be somewhere up here to the up and right.
Uh-huh.
But on the ball, you'd see the little speck of light. And so that's basically what specular is. Specular is like the shininess of it. Metallic is more, also adds in reflections, and it does a bunch of other things.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I like, whoops. That's, picture taken. Oh yeah, I have to change that back. The other fun thing, build lighting. Oh, one more thing. So I had to do the graphics, and I'm doing a whole tutorial on it, and I'm trying to cut down to as basic steps as possible. But one of the things that needed to be done inside of Blender is I needed to create 2 UVs.
Interesting.
So one of them is for the UV map. The other one is for the lighting. When you bake the lighting and you don't have it, it can make things look funky. One of the important things about this, though, is you can't have a light mass overlapping. So you have to make sure there's little gaps in between. Because if a light mass overlaps, you're going to get some weird results. I can point them out right here because I haven't completely fixed it for the basic block yet. You'll see this line right here, and this line right here on the right side. That is because the light mass is not properly done.
Okay, because there's a gap between the 2 light masses?
No, because there's an overlap.
Oh.
You want a gap, don't want an overlap.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, basically the light mask applies when you do the you do this bake, the build lighting. And so that's where the light mask gets used. And Blender likes to have 2 different UVs for this.
Is there no way to fix it
once it's Unreal Engine wants it to have 2. Once it's imported, there's no real way to do it.
Okay.
So you have to do it before you import.
Or re-import after you fix it again.
Right. You can re-import a lot of times. This Unreal Engine makes it super easy. You right-click the object and you do re-import. And since it already knows where it came from, it just re-imports it.
Oh, that's cool.
So if I go here and I go to my basic block, and I'm messing with the light mass, and I try to fix it. Let's pretend that I do fix it. This just needs to be moved down a little bit. And I do export, FBX, tile basic, single selected object, export. And then I can just do re-import, and it'll re-import the new block. And you should have to rebuild the lighting after that.
Cool.
The re-import also works for almost everything that you import into Unreal Engine.
Okay, so for these things where you might have to do some updates afterwards, you would want to leave in the Blender folder and import them straight from there.
Yeah, you want to leave them where they are and just keep re-importing them.
Okay.
The same thing works for textures. When I did the textures originally, I did them 64 by 64, which doesn't match the block size that I did for the sprite, which was 32 by 32. She's a 32 by 64 character, but it's supposed to be 2 tiles high.
Right.
And so what I did was I shrunk down the image, made a bunch of corrections, and then just re-imported by using this re-import. And boom, everything updated beautifully. I didn't have to redo all the textures. Once I re-imported, everything just cascaded down.
Nice.
Oh, and for these blocks, if you want to see, let's move this guy out a little bit. So this guy, he's just all one texture. So I use him for not just the corner, but the same block is, same block is also applicable to this. I can't see it. But I could use them instead of this. I could put a block there. Bam. I have just a plain wall.
Nice.
And the textures work beautifully in Unreal Engine. I'm sure that once you get used to it. So if I wanted to make it, I want it to be a window again, I just put the window there. handy. You just take the window and you just drag and drop it right there.
Nice.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. I had to design how we're going to do the buildings. So we're going to do these tile type things. Some objects are just going to be like 3D objects. We're going to be using pixel art style textures, and then I think that's it. So we should be able to make a bunch of these houses using a limited amount of different kinds of tiles. Obviously, some of the buildings are pretty unique, so we're gonna have to do a whole bunch of different kinds of tiles. But for the most part, we should be able to make a decent looking, varied looking city with a minimal amount of blocks, just like in the olden days.
That's what we're going for.
And I think that's it.
Cool.
We have to talk about our projects.
Yep. And then what we're doing next time. Do we want to do that first?
Let's talk about the. Yeah, let's talk about what we're doing next time first. All right. So I need to design and create the graphics for the title screen, because you're going to be doing the title screen probably the next time. Also, I have to create a Larvic graphics, and I have to create Savron's attack graphics.
Okay, so which do you want me to do? Both of those? Do you want me to create an enemy that'll wander around and the start screen?
No. You're going to be doing an enemy that wanders around that can die and Savron attacking.
Okay, and I'll worry about the start screen after you get me that assets.
Right. Because you should be able to do some of this work beforehand, like have a little block walking around before I get you those art assets. But I'll try to get them done. I'll try to get them done before I do the other things.
Okay.
So you should be able to have the assets, and then I'll just send them to you.
And maybe I'll be an overachiever and get more than just the minimum done.
Maybe. I'm probably not going to do too many frames of animation. One, I want the attack to be pretty fast, and two, I think it will look good with only like 2 or 3 frames.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Oh, we don't have our tasks.
They are not in there.
All right, let's go to our general task list. I mean, our general then. Where's our pinned? Oh, did we not pin it?
Not in general. You have to click on endangered, Matt.
No, this is our normal projects task list. So, we're recording the episode right now. Consider that done. We're doing another thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Write a small roadmap of tasks. We need to do that still.
Yes.
You need to do a HUD tutorial.
I did the HUD tutorial.
You did the HUD tutorial. We need to incorporate sprite animations. You did that. I made a building. I am writing a building tutorial.
And the animations tutorial is in progress.
All right, so those are in progress. We need to work on Zombie King. We need to work on Bloodbath. I'm started working on a web playable version. I'm doing the last outro for the Zone 3 ride.
And then are you on to Zone 4?
Oh, I need to do the spawns and then the backgrounds and then the GIFs.
Okay, so there's still a lot to do for Zone 3 before you move on to Zone 4.
Right.
Okay.
I've already started writing Zone 4's cutscenes, so there's some that are done being written, but I'm not going to work on them until I get done with Zone 3.
Okay.
Plus, we need some GIFs to spread some more Twitter joy. All right. Auto links for the podcast and the Udify list sites. I need clean odd quotes, and you have no tasks other than current stuff.
Right.
That gets us cut up to there, and we're all good.
Cool. All right. What is? Did you update that?
I mean, oh yeah, I
The
keep
chubby
updating
guy?
things.
Oh, it's nice. Looks good.
Looks a little better. I think it still still use some work, but I'm not that good at graphics for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I know how that feels. Oh, speaking of which, Matt, Heather said she wanted one of those.
Oh, she wants an animated one or just
Yeah.
a new one?
Yes.
Okay. She wanted me to do the same picture or a new one?
Maybe a new one. We'll talk to her tomorrow.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Bye.
Good night.